excited about our next guest. He's coming directly from Italy today to share his expertise with us. Giuseppe Baretto is with us. He has over 32 years of experience in telecommunications. He is a former Alcatel, now Nokia expert on intelligent network signaling. He has been a telecommunications regulator in his career, and for 21 years at Cisco, he's been an expert of unified communications, contact center, and collaboration applications, including video meeting and messaging and digital signage. It's a real privilege to have you with us, Giuseppe. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with our global audience today.
Thanks a lot, Jose. Thanks for your time. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. Today we'll be listening to the cloud calling and contact center migration. It will be a 35 minutes presentation around, let's say, the strategy and how, what are the, let's say, the major topics that you need to take into account when an organization wants to migrate into cloud. I would like to start with this slide. In fact, it's an allegory slides where it shows that some people are looking beyond and they are looking from different perspectives. And this is exactly what organizations should do. In fact, when you migrate to cloud and when it's calling cloud or even contact center, you need to take into account several aspects, okay? It could be aspects just like what we call the pre-cloud readiness, okay? It's mainly pre-migration activity that needs to be taken into account, just like a security, operational readiness, network readiness, connectivity. So all these kind of things needs to be, let's say, evaluated and assessed, okay? Now, why cloud calling has been so far, let's say, so popular? It's on the hype. It's a good momentum for cloud calling. Why? Let's say that it has to do with the let's say pandemic. This is a typical scenario that was prior to February 2020. As you remember, most of us were in the headquarters or in the offices, and we were working, collaborating close each other. Okay, but then the pandemic came, and the pandemic has really accelerated the way we work. And in fact, we shifted, let's say, from headquarters to working from home, okay? And initially the organization had to make, let's say, a very quick pivot, I mean, in order to leverage new tools of collaboration. And initially the organization were forced to ensure business continuity, okay? And business continuity was ensured with the collaboration tools, just like, let's say, meetings capability, okay? But of course, let's say, if the organization had to deal with a level of business continuity before, and this has changed the way we work. But however, over the next months, as we will get back, let's say, to the office, let's say, our business continuity, let's say, we will learn that it's not only meetings, okay? Because remote work is not just meeting. It's a fundamental change in the way we work. But this also includes calling, teaming, and other capability, okay? Just to keep you, let's say, understanding what I meant before, saying that, let's say, remote work or work in general is not only meeting. As you can see here, it's a day in the life of an employee. And you see different, let's say, colors here, or phases of the day of an employee. And you can see, maybe you can start with a message, and then you move to the call, then you have maybe a meeting, you have a review, or perhaps you also use some tools for scheduling a meeting. You also use whiteboarding, or maybe editing or code-editing a file, leveraging perhaps some third-party messaging capability. So you can see here that in this case, the calling capability is always present, okay? So, and calling remains a natural, let's say, tool for communication, because through calling, we can manage complex information. Sometimes maybe we start with emails, but when, let's say, the things needs to be becoming complex, we need to escalate to calling, to voice. And the same also for decision making. I mean, we cannot do decision making on email, or and we need to leverage the calling capability. And the same also for creating relationship or customer interaction. As you can see, a lot of people still prefer one-to-one, because if you need to do a one-to-one conversation, of course, you're not going to schedule a meeting one-to-one, but you leverage, let's say, the capability. And 9 out of 10 people says also the phones are still relevant, are still important, okay? So today, however, calling experience, I would say, is quite disjointed, because the employee experience is made of several applications. So the employees typically, as an average, or let's say 34 applications as an average, but most of them are disjointed in each other, so there is no tight integration. And also in the calling side, some organizations have maybe enabled some VoIP capability, but also have a PBX capability. Okay, and also the conference services is not uniform. It might be that they have, let's say, some organization, they have a Webex and Microsoft Teams, some others have some other, let's say, vendors of capability, so it's not uniform. And from IT perspective, security is a key, let's say, concern, and also compliance and interoperability are especially interoperability when they have, let's say, on-prem capability. It's difficult to maintain, let's say, once you do an upgrade, you need to upgrade all the third-party elements. So it's also a concern having on-prem capability. The majority majority of the IT leaders believe that the current systems, the on-prem system, are too costly to maintain. So that's why they want to move to cloud. And also, mainly most of the enterprises, despite the fact that they are global, maybe they have, let's say, systems in each region or in each theater, but they are not, let's say, connected each other. So from routing or dialing plan. So it happens sometimes that when they need to call from one region to another region, they need to go via the PSTN and not via the intranet. Okay. So what are the, let's say, the changes in the market with regard to calling? So what are the top drivers? So first of all, I mean, one important thing that has happened not with the pandemic, but started a few years ago, is that most of the PBX has reached the end of life. And of course, I mean, the IT leaders are thinking to do to the next, let's say, level of architecture. And the cloud, of course, is one of the possible choice. Also, there are some initiatives, especially in the HR, okay, to create a new way of working, okay, more in a collaborative way. So what we call typically the digital workplace initiatives. And digital workplace initiatives also requires, let's say, new tools that integrates meetings, calling, and perhaps also contact center. And there are also some also in the cloud strategy, the CEO also, or the CTO, are pushing for a cloud-first strategy, and this, of course, creates a lot of boost to cloud calling. And one other important point is that regarding, let's say, the functionality, what we call the UC as a service, so any service that is provided in the cloud and is also sold as, let's say, as a per user per month. Now, this platform have evolved during the last years, and initially there was no feature parity, but now we can say, at least from Cisco perspective, that is, I mean, the feature parity has been not only, let's say, reached, but also, let's say, also exceeded. Okay. Now, as I said earlier, let's say, I said that it's not only, let's say, meeting. In fact, I mean, if you look, let's say, how the 1 billion, let's say, total market opportunity has been split, you can see that almost half of it is still invested in calling capability. A part of it also regarding devices. Of course, the devices can be standard devices, just like Epiphone, but now more and more the vendors are, just like Cisco, are developing smart devices, okay, especially video devices that has a lot of, let's say, artificial intelligence capability that allows, let's say, to provide a better user experience. And then there is a part, of course, which is called the meeting, and the meeting capability that provides, let's say, conferencing, and also some collaboration tools, because it's not only, let's say, meeting, but the capability to share document, to edit a document. Okay, and this is all within the meeting umbrella. And a part of it is also related to customer care, or what we call, let's say, in the past as a contact center. Okay. Now, Cisco has deployed, let's say, a single platform, okay, which is called the Webex. And in fact, this Webex platform, let's say, has 3 tiers. In other words, I mean, the first tier is what we call, let's say, the Webex for small business, okay. And this is typically sold to very small, let's say enterprises, okay, which range up to 100 seats. And of course, I mean, for, let's say, enterprises that has a larger, let's say, installed base of users, we can propose our Webex calling, which is the fully cloud solution, okay, and uses, let's say, internet over the top, okay, so over the top internet, and so the connection is done via internet. And then there is also another solution from Cisco, which is the UCM Cloud, which of course is made for very large organizations, because it can scale very large, I mean, even up to, let's say, depending on the scalability, but very large organizations, mainly spread over several, let's say, regions. And this is the solution that we can provide. So this is the Cisco, and of course, this is what we call the one Webex experience. That in fact it's integrated, and as you can see here, sorry, Cisco is a platform, okay, that includes is named the Cisco Webex, and is done through several, let's say, components. It includes the meeting capability, the calling capability, the Teams, which is the collaboration, let's say, part. It could be the contact center, the smart devices, and especially due to the fact that it's an with open API, we can integrate with the third-party capability and vendors in order to enhance also the solution. And in fact, this is a platform that delivers, let's say, a consistency across the workloads. So what do we mean? The user experience is the same if you use Webex meeting, if you use Webex calling, or if you use Webex Teams or contact center. Also from the agent perspective, the client is the same. And also is the same user experience in terms of usability. So if you leverage a device, or you leverage Webex Teams in the desktop, or you leverage Webex in the mobile app, okay, so device or desktop or mobile app, in that case, the experience is still the same. So this is an important part, because it's one of the plus of the Cisco Webex, that regardless of the devices, okay, or of the application, the underlying application, the experience, what you get, what the end user will get, is the same, okay. And is also innovation at cloud speed, because, and this is one of the plus in general of the cloud capability, that you can release, let's say, the feature very quickly, because this is done not by the customer, but by the vendor, okay? In the past, when you had the on-prem capability, the on-prem capability is very difficult to do upgrade, because every time that you need to do upgrade, you need to have a test plan, a test bed, you need to do your own testing through your, let's say, IT department. And so the process for upgrading systems, and especially take into account when you have on-prem capability, the customer sometimes also own the hardware. It's not only a problem of upgrading the software, but sometimes you need to do some technology refresh. And this increase a lot the time for doing upgrade, and of course to get additional features. Another advantage of Webex is the global backbone. So we leverage a global backbone in several, let's say, regions and also in several countries, because of course, I mean, there are also some requirements, regulatory requirements that requires to have the data within the country. Okay? And this is an important, let's say, capability of Cisco Webex through our global presence. And in fact, we are present in 195 countries. Okay. Cognitive, so it's powered by the artificial intelligence, and this especially provides capability in the contact center agents to do, let's say, conversational IVR, and also in terms of video devices, so devices that are smart, and I will show you later, let's say, the capability and what I mean. And of course, it's a hybrid. In case you want also to have some data that wants to reside in on-prem, you could have an hybrid engagement. So everything in the cloud except, for example, some capability just like the on-prem security keys, or could be also some on-prem video. Rather than sending all the video to the cloud, you do, let's say, the conferencing is done, or the bridge is done at the on-prem level, and then it's cascaded to the cloud in order to consume less bandwidth. And last but not least, of course, is the secure Cisco Webex is secure end-to-end. Okay, and I'll explain you. There is a specific slides later on. So, in order to have, let's say, a complete experience for Webex, there are four major, let's say, areas that I want to address over the next minutes. One is what we call the unified application, and I already touched on it a little bit earlier. The other part is the smart devices, so capability that enables you, I mean, to have, let's say, increased augmented experience. The third part is what we call the enterprise performance, mainly related, let's say, to availability of the services, the SLA. And the fourth one is the exceptional control, with, in other words, the exceptional, let's say, capability in manage the platform and also get insights of the platform through the analytics edge. So let's start with the first one, is what we call the unified Webex meeting. And you can see here, here is the calling, what we call the Webex app. As I told you earlier, this is a Webex app that is the same regardless it is Webex calling, Webex meeting, Webex Teams. Okay, and it is the same whether it is on devices, okay, just like video devices, or it is on a web app in the desktop browser, or could be the Webex app in the mobile Android or iOS. And what I wanted to show you here, that calling the Webex app is relevant, especially when you integrate the calling capability. Okay, here you can see some features of the calling capability. For example, the capability to have hold, resume, transfer, or even to merge conferences. So this is important because these are features that comes, say, from the standard telephony, but needs also to be present in a Webex calling app. Okay, and there are other capabilities, just like the call forwarding, single number reach, do not disturb, or even voice or visual voicemail, or even the capability, let's say, to do some changes in the call preferences. And also, I want to show you that a very important capability is the one that you can see here, connect to devices. So in other words, this is a Webex app that can work on its own, just like an app in the desktop browser, or can control a device, which could be a Cisco devices, let's say just like a video devices, so that the call is triggered by the Webex app. However, the call is then generated by the devices that is controlled. So in other words, I trigger the call that is then sent to the device and then is generated by the device. This is typically the case where you have your phone or your video devices close to you. And so here there is an integration with directory. Okay, and of course you have all the directory, let's say, access, and you select a user, and then the call is triggered and then sent to the device. So it's leveraging the device associated to the Webex app. And this is a very important, let's say, capability that allows, let's say, to have an application not working on its own, but also controlling, let's say, the devices. And as I said, Cisco Webex can control Cisco device, Cisco Webex can control Cisco devices, but could be the other way around. I mean, it could be making a call from Microsoft Teams. So in other words, Microsoft Teams leverage the Webex calling capability or even Webex devices to make a call. And the same could be also with Slack, say meeting and calling integration with Slack. So we provide not only calling capability, so the capability to make audio and video call, but also to provide the meeting, the web conferencing capability within Slack. So you can see here a very, let's say, powerful integration. And as you can see here, Cisco is quite open, so not working also only within the Cisco environment, but interworking also with the third-party, let's say, vendors of, let's say, collaboration. We talk about now smart devices, okay? So, and this is one, let's say, of the, let's say, goal point of Cisco. And I would like to show this slide because this show you capability of, let's say, this was a special edition. As you can see here, in the number is 1 out of 100 million. This was a special event for Cisco, but it shows that we started in 1998 selling the first IP phones, okay? And last year we achieved, let's say, the 100 million. So you can understand that we started, of course, initially with IP phones, and now we evolved. We evolved not only with IP phones, but we are doing even more than that. This is just an example of, let's say, headset. For example, now I can show you. I have it one. I can show you here one. This is a headset wireless, and these are mainly used. They have a lot of capability, especially the noise cancellation, that are very helpful during, let's say, a noisy, let's say, environment. We are very powerful on the video devices, okay, and these are video devices with intelligence. Intelligent, what does it mean? Speaker tracking. So the camera understands who is talking at that time and zoom on the people that is talking in that moment. Not only if you, for example, stand up, okay, and the camera understand that you have made a movement and adjust the zoom to your face. So try adjusting the image, okay? So this is what we call say, empowerment of video devices with artificial intelligence. Okay, and this is what we call is part of the video devices in Cisco. We have a comprehensive, say, portfolio of video, and depending, of course, on the use cases. Of course, if you want to use a co-creation environment where you need also to have, let's say, a boardroom, let's say, whiteboarding capability. Of course, you can have, let's say, what we call the Webex Pro board. So we have several tiers depending on the size. I can say here, typically the size of the inches, 55, 70, or 85 inches. And then in case you want to communicate and you want to add, imagine that you have a screen, okay, very large screen, and you want to empower that screen with video capability, intelligent video capability. In other words, we sell the codec. In the Webex room, for example, this is USB, RoomKit Mini, RoomKit Mini Plus, RoomKit Pro. These are, let's say, codec that enhance the video, the monitor, okay? We have also some capability to do, let's say, Webex sharing. It's a capability to do the screen sharing on via, let's say, USB dongle. And we have then what we call, let's say, a series of, let's call it desktop video, and we ranges from, let's say, DX80 or Webex, depending of course on the size. This is mainly for desktop. This is a little bit bigger, could be in a meeting room or in an outdoor room. Okay, as you can see here, the size of the rooms. And then we have the series, as I said, of our headset, and including, say, some IP phones, which some of them are also video enabled. We have also wireless phone and IP conferencing and the room phone. Okay, so this is the smart devices. Now, enterprise performance. Okay, what do we mean? Typically is what is within the areas of quality, trusted quality and reliability. In other words, I mean, we provide our SLA, okay, which we committed to. We, as I said, we provide a global presence in several, let's say, countries, and this is important because it has to do with the also regulatory requirements. Okay. We provide a global support, especially for the operation, because you need to have an assistance center 24/7. We have our presence, our technical assistance centers has been, let's say, presence since, let's say, 25-30 years, and it's and provides, let's say, support, and we can range from, let's say, different level of support depending on what the customer is looking for. Exceptional control. What is exceptional control? Is mainly what we call the management of the platform, but it's not only management of the platform. It's what we call so in other words, it's a platform that first of all integrates, is the same for Webex meeting, Webex calling, Webex Teams. Okay, so it's integrated, and it's just one uniform, say, user interface for all the capability. Provides real-time insights, and this is let's say is our, let's say, gem, I would say, of the Cisco Webex, because you can. This is very important with regard to adoption and also for troubleshooting. For example, if you have a meeting, you can understand from the analytics where the problem lies. If it is, it has to do with bandwidth, it has to do with, say, the desktop, and also we have insights so that we can understand how a video device has been used, okay, during a certain time frame, okay, which gives you a visibility on the usage of your device, on the return of your investment. This has to do with what we call, let's say, the adoption of the solution. And this is important because when the organization made investment, it's important that there will be a return on investment. In order to have a return on investment, you need to monitor the usage of your solutions and devices. Okay, and of course it has a complete life cycle that provides a capability for upgrading the devices. One of the key points, as I said, I mean, in the beginning of the presentation, is that you need to look beyond and let's say take into account what are, let's say, the cloud readiness. Okay, cloud readiness are, let's say, areas that needs to be exploited, okay, and adjusted in order to prior to do any migration to cloud. Just an example, here I quoted some of them, okay. One is what we call the media network readiness. Why network readiness is important? It's paramount because when you shift from on-prem to cloud, there will be a lot of video traffic, video or meeting traffic flowing from on-prem to cloud. This, of course, will have an impact on your network. Whatever it is, SD-WAN or MPLS, Fiber Connect, this will be impacted. So you need to make sure that your network is ready to carry video and meeting, and that the network is enabled with QoS. And the media network readiness, I will explain in one slide later on, it's a capability that provides you, let's say, the readiness, and if something is not ready, we can spot and we can create remediation plans. Another point, as I said, is connectivity. When you need to connect to data center, you have several, let's say, options, SD-WAN, say MPLS, so you need also to understand what is the best connectivity scenario for you. Operational readiness, especially, I mean, you are moving from an on-prem admin GUI to a cloud, okay, with a lot of richness for insights, for analytics. So your operation manager needs to be ready, needs to be prepared prior to do the migration. The same for user adoption. So if you have people that needs to use the devices, one piece has been migrated to the cloud, you need to enable or to prepare a training plan. You need to prepare a governance. Okay, and this is what we call the end user adoption. And another point, very important point, you need to be ready for security, because security is not only signal security, media security, but could be also legal hold, e-discovery, data loss protection. So all these things, and also a compliance to GDPR. So this has to be taken into account. I was talking about, let's say, the media readiness assessment. So media readiness assessment, in other words, let's say, it's an assessment that uses a modular approach to assess the enterprise network from the media network infrastructure and also the application level. So the network policies are investigated in three different areas to ensure the optimal network and performance. Okay, so the first one is what we call the media traffic and signaling. So the characteristic of the voice and video traffic are collected after simulating calls of a particular duration, and then the data is collected to get what we call the mean opinion score, the MOS. Okay, and this is what we call the media traffic and signaling. Then we also check, let's say, the network device configuration and performance audit, so the configuration and network interface on the Cisco device and on the path. So are audited to make sure that in that path, the QS has been enabled. So the QS policy has been tagged and marked. Okay, so QS is paramount for voice and video. And also another point, we make sure that the network path has a redundant link. Okay, and the 5 areas of compliance are mainly the hardware and software. So we make sure that all the switches, I mean routers, are with the up to date, let's say, recommended iOS software. We make, let's say, QS compliance. We make a performance compliance, checking specifically 3 parameters: the jitter, packet loss, and delay. And then we check that the network, the underlying network, has been, let's say, designed according to, let's say, typically design best practice. And we also look at the environmental power, okay, to make sure that everything is according to recommendation. Another component that needs to be taken into account migrating to cloud is, as I said, the connectivity, but also what we call the video mesh. So video mesh, in other words, is a capability for meshing, switching the video in the network, but locally. So in other words, all the video, rather than sending all the video to the cloud, you switch the video locally and then you cascade the result to the cloud. So this will decrease the bandwidth that is required. Okay, and security, as I said, is important. So we have on-prem systems for those customers that want the security keys in the on-prem and not in the cloud, because this could be a requirement of some organizations. So we have the security keys are owned by the customer and not by the cloud providers. Okay, so closing thoughts around the calling. It's say digital workspace is accelerating, is creating once a new generation opportunity, creating, let's say, a new opportunity. Voice is the natural way to communicate, and of course it helps your customer to transform with the Cisco Calling. Now, very 5 minutes left to talk about the contact center. We talk a lot about calling, but the contact center is still also relevant for customers. And when do the organization thinks about, let's say, a migration to cloud contact center, especially when you have an upgrade, or maybe your systems are end of sales, maybe you have a very legacy systems, or you want to have a multi-channel capability that your system does not provide. In that case, you can think about moving to cloud. And the Cisco solution is Webex Contact Center. And Webex Contact Center is a native cloud, has the omni-channel capability, typically with all voice, mail, chat, communication, and are all unified. Provide the skill-based routing. So in other words, the customer and the agents are matched using data about the agent with the best skill to meet the need and deliver the desired outcome. Also, there is integration with the business in applications, just like typically the CRM. It could be Microsoft Dynamics, Salesforce, and Zendesk, and some other CRM provider. Reporting capability and dashboard. This is very important because by collecting the data, we can understand, let's say, we can optimize the operation through the optimized reporting. We have also workforce management, okay, and typically when it offers a contact center supervisor, agents, and staffing analysts the ability to manage agent schedules, forecast, and plan, and based on trends. And this is, of course, it's an optional component that can be enabled, okay? And another optional is the outbound capability that automates the outbound, let's say, in campaign, okay? What is the difference? What are the benefits for going to cloud contact center? As you can see here, I mean, when you have an on-prem, you own the hardware, you own the software, and typically this is managed on site, and you have a static version. So every time that you need to downgrade it takes time, because there are in the contact center there are a lot of third-party integration. So and you need, every time that you upgrade one element, you need to upgrade all the elements, or to check at least the compatibility with all the elements. And then on the other side, when you have a cloud deployment, the hardware is managed by the cloud in Cisco, and the frequency of the new version is much more frequent than on-prem. And of course, I mean, the migration the step to migrate to cloud contact center, of course, starts with the vision, okay, and then you architect, you design it, you plan it, and then you define the cloud readiness prior to migrate, and then you do, of course, go live, monitor and support, and of course, it's always supported through a day 2 operation, and that can be offered multi-year. So to recap, is the last slide, and just some closing thoughts around the cloud contact center. Do not rebuild the same platform, but build a better one, cloud-based, of course, a Cisco-based Webex Contact Center. Take advantage of the benefit of the platform through the agility and flexibility, and especially the on-sites. Lower the total cost of ownership and the OPEX, okay? Especially OPEX reduction with the automation through intelligent network. And this will provide not only maximum experience to the end user, but also reduction of the total cost. And with that, I have completed my presentation.
Very good, Giuseppe. Very good. So some questions here coming in from the audience. What do you see as the path forward for greater collaboration using systems like this? What do you see happening from a development standpoint in the next 12 months or so?
Now, of course, I mean, especially, okay, in contact center, I mean, if I take a contact center, the trend that I see now, lots of customers are moving from voice channel, okay, agent, which was the end user that just used the voice channel, to multi-channel. So multi-channel is the trend that we see, not only powered by AI capability, and the AI capability will automate the, let's say, basic task, and will transfer the call to the agents with all the transcript, okay, that has been done prior to transfer the call. So this will be the automation that will allow to have agents working on or more task or valuable task. Okay, this is the trend that I can see here in the contact center. However, in the calling side, I see integration, tight integration between calling, meeting, and collaboration tools. So this will be the trend that we'll see more and more. And we started with the pandemic, but after the pandemic will be over, this will continue to grow for many years.
Do you see one of the themes that has emerged on the questions is what you may be observing in the marketplace right now? Of course, different parts of the world are in different stages of either returning to work or adopting a fully hybrid approach, as you mentioned. As you see more of the adoption of the hybrid approach, what impact would that have on the technology itself? Is there a change in the technology that's happening in the next few months as a result of the hybrid approach? What that may look like?
No, let's say the hybrid approach does not change the cloud architecture. Okay, so if you're moving, I mean, you could move to cloud first. Okay, but of course, I mean, prior to do that, you need to understand how your underlying network, as I said, is ready to carry all the traffic. Okay, so you need to do some capacity analysis or design analysis of your capacity, and if you be, and also cost benefit, because you have the cost of the bandwidth and the cost of putting some on-prem capability to switch the video traffic inside. So this is something that is part of the engineering of the solution. As I said, there is a life cycle. Prior to the migration, you need to understand what the validation of your architecture. So the impact on technology, of course, if you enable some hybrid, and especially also for security. Security end-to-end means not only signaling or media or signaling security. It means also when you interconnected to directory, you do direct integration or calendar integration. It has to be, let's say, secure the path. Okay, and if you want secure, you need also keys, on-prem keys, and this is something that you need to take to evaluate, because it might be a customer requirement to have on-prem keys. So you need to put systems just like our Cisco hybrid data security that gives, let's say, the key. Of course, I mean, the key, the customer might have also an agreement with the key vendor, okay, in order to mention the keys, but the key will be, say, on-prem and only owned by the customer.
That's a very good point, because some of the questions had to do about maybe what are some of the best practices about what's on the cloud and what stays on premise. And you have alluded a little bit to that on your comment just now. So related to security items that you may want to keep on premise. Can you go a little bit deeper on that? Beyond security, for example, should everything else probably be from a overall cost perspective be on the cloud, or it's not really that simple? You have to take case by case. And what do you see being kind of the components on the cloud and the components on premise that in most cases seem to be the right decision?
For example, what we can see, recording, for example, is something that now is shifting from on-prem to cloud. So typically recording, most of the vendors are relying on the third-party vendors, okay? And this is done more and more on the cloud. And then other things, just like the PSTN connectivity, of course, less and less local, okay, with local PSTN, but more centralized with the SIP trunking through session border controller. So this is another things that we see more and more, but it's something that we already noticed since 5 years. I mean, SIP, there are a lot of now SIP providers through the service provider. Yeah.
That's very, very good. Giuseppe, thank you so much. I know it's late in Italy right now. Thank you so much for coming in late in your day, sharing your expertise for a global audience on how this migration is happening with the Cisco Webex systems, the infrastructure that's needed, the strategies on the cloud that you have shared with us. On behalf of our global audience, we appreciate your insights and expertise.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Giuseppe Baretto, who leads the Advanced Service Business Developments for Cisco Webex, and sharing the migration of calling and contact center to the cloud. We're going to be taking a break now, and we're going to be coming back with a leader, a cross-industry leader for IT infrastructure and cloud strategies. And I'm talking about Nilesh Ajmani, who is the lead enterprise architect, senior data scientist across multiple organizations, and currently at Biogen, and sharing his experience in this area with us. So we're gonna be wrapping up now. At the top of the hour, we'll meet back with Nilesh Ajmani.
Hello, Jose. Nilesh here.